the next thing, and this is something that it doesn't impact my dad personally, it doesn't impact my family personally, but I feel personally implicated by it because of my dad is a engineer, rail engineer. And this is for freight trains, not for passenger trains. But there is, and we talked about this like 2 or 3 months ago at this point, the impending railroad union strike. And this is a conglomerate, basically, of many, many unions. It's about 115,000. Remember, I should point this out. Remember that coal workers who have an inordinate amount of influence based on, not because of the workers, but they're used as a pawn by the coal and natural gas industry. But they are disproportionately talked about as a working group. And there's only 60,000 coal miners, roughly, 60 to 65,000 in the country. There's 115,000 freight train workers alone. Not talking about passenger, not talking necessarily about subway, not talking about all of the mass transit that we talk about broadly. Buses, etc. So as a working class bloc, the rail workers are getting absolutely screwed over in their negotiations. Because, and we will talk about the president's response, they are fighting largely at this point for sick leave. Not 30 days, not 21 days. The highest that I've heard that they have asked for is 15 days. The current deal that they had 0 sick days. I will talk about the bill that passed today as well in a second. The complicating factor is that because of specific carve-outs for railroads and airlines, which allows for these functional monopolies to exist, not that they're not profit, not that they're all publicly owned, because of course they're not. They have specific carve-outs, and this allows the House and the Senate specifically to, I don't have a better word for this, but force the acceptance of a specific contract for union workers. So, this is what President Biden sent out 2 days ago. I will read it for those. I will not read the whole thing, but I will read parts of it for those just listening. I am calling on Congress to pass legislation immediately to adopt the tentative agreement between railroad workers and operators without any modifications or delay. We'll loop back to that. To avert a potentially crippling national rail shutdown. We will also come back to that. This agreement was approved by labor and management negotiators in September. On the day that it was announced, labor leaders, business leaders, and elected officials all hailed it as a fair resolution of the dispute between the hardworking men and women of the rail freight unions and the companies in that industry. The deal provides a historic 24% raise for rail workers. It provides improved health care benefits, and it provides the ability of operating craft workers to take unscheduled leave for medical needs. Since that time, the majority of unions, asterisk, in the industry have voted to approve the deal. So let's start from there. That asterisk that I'm throwing in there, because it's not in the actual statement here. The asterisk is for, it might be the majority of unions, but it does not represent the majority of workers. The majority of the workers have not voted to approve this. The largest unions have not. And yes, he's saying a 24% raise. Yes, that's great. But when you operate on these budgets, what happens is, this happens across corporate America, and I'm not telling any trade secrets here. I'm just an accountant. When a worker becomes too, quote, costly, they're older, they might be making $250,000, $300,000, which, by the way, none of these workers that we're talking about do. But let's just say in corporate America. But you can hire somebody to do the same job for a quarter of the price, a third of the price. They might not have the same qualifications, yeah, whatever. But when the CEO or the C-suite, the CFO, COO, when their bonus is contingent upon a profit margin percentage, and the easiest way to cut a cost, which, by the way, I'll remind you that labor costs are still not the largest cost. It might be some of the largest costs for a railroad, but not necessarily for all of corporate America, is not one of the largest contributors to operating costs. But it's an easy way to get rid of costs. Now, that means overworking people. Reminder, one of the goals of the railroad companies, which are for profit, by the way, was to get rid of conductors and have one operator on the train. So not having a engineer and a conductor, just having an engineer. So that would mean one person on the train rather than two, which comes up with a hell of a lot of problems. Let alone saying that, oh yeah, we can just have less experienced people do it. It doesn't matter about the safety. It doesn't matter about the precautions that we need. It doesn't matter about training. It doesn't matter about having people that work and have loyalty to a specific trade over time. No, can't do that. We're going to screw them over because we don't want to give them 7 days. That's what the general consensus here is. 7 days of sick leave. Not just broad PTO, extra sick leave. The real reason companies do this, and I'll bring it back to me here. We've talked about this before. The real reason that companies dangle benefits, they talk about, oh yeah, we have this wonderful benefit system for your healthcare, and reminder that we have a for-profit healthcare system because it's all about control. It is about controlling workers. It is about putting them in a certain box and say, you should be happy that you got $50,000. The average person in this country makes $54,000 a year. How can you afford to buy a house? How can you afford to live the American dream when that's the average salary? You can't. And for Joe Biden, who up to this point has been pretty damn good with the unions, for him to say, and for Congress to do it, screw it, just plow it through, it is inexplicably short-sighted and undercuts the working class of this country. And it shows the hand that Democrats need to step up and become more. Some claim to be, right? More of the working class party. We cannot step aside and say, yeah, no, this is great. I saw people on Facebook saying, this is great. Oh my God, fuck that. That is absolute bullshit. You're throwing workers under the bus for a potential, and again, it's not even real, a potential theoretical economic disaster that didn't have to happen if you just gave them half of what they asked for. If they asked for 15 days, give them 7. Instead, they give them 1. This is not negotiation. This is stripping working class power away from people. This is undermining everything you're supposed to stand for. This is undermining what Democrats are supposed to stand for. This is undermining what a working class movement that unifies people across party should look like. If you, as a Democratic president and a Democratic Congress, because we still control Congress until January, want to prove that you care about working class people, this is the hill to die on. This is the hill to die on. We don't get many shots at saying we're actually going to provide something for the working class of America. I'm so, it gets me so worked up. Congress has the opportunity to say and champion average Joe and Jane, because that is who this is helping. But instead, the House votes to represent, and I saw fellow Democrats cheering this, votes to get that out of here. Votes to approve a bill to block a railroad strike. This happened today. This accepted the deal that was struck, and another bill that has to get passed, because this is how they do this, right? Oh, don't worry. We're going to vote on another bill. I would like to see where it says in here, but oh, don't worry. We'll vote on another bill tomorrow. Oh, here it is. They're supposed to talk with Pete Buttigieg on Thursday. They're supposed to have another vote on another bill specifically for that sick leave piece. So let me just back away so I don't show my hand here. I would like, if anyone in chat wants to participate, this is a participation trophy time. I would like to know what the average European country you would think sick leave is. In days, however you want to guess it, you want to throw it in the chat, please go for it. Because America, and this is the bad side of American exceptionalism, we should want to strive, again, this is Greater Society 101. Build off the New Deal, build off the Great Society, build towards something bigger, better, greater than what we are right now. Having patriotism to build for something for average Joe. So, Jordan says 100. Shaz, 7 days is nothing. Yes, it is. CB, 7 days off a year is insane. Yes, it is. That's sick days, to be fair. They have vacation time. I don't know how much it is precisely, but this is sick days, right? So if you got COVID and you were sick for 5 days, you could get fired. Because that is the strike thing. So it's like you have the ability to go get not get paid, but you run the risk of getting fired after a certain amount of days of not getting paid, which is like 3 days, which is absolutely insane. Lindsay says 5 weeks. Let's take a look. I will zoom in here. So this is not spoiling anything too. So here's the exceptionalism of America. How long are workers guaranteed paid sick leave? This is just general workers, not railroad workers. America, nothing. So any other country that you see that is color-coded like this is nothing. So here we go. Somalia, no paid sick leave. Wow. We're just like Somalia. India, no paid sick leave. Great. That's great company you want to be in right there. Totally pro-worker countries. Let's go to our neighbor in the north. 3 to 5.9 months in Canada. Let's go to Lithuania. 3 to 5.9 months. Let's go to Mongolia. 3 to 5.9 months. Kazakhstan even has 1 to 2.9 months. Little old Switzerland, 1 month or less. And that is the least that you can find in Europe. So what is this green color? What is this deep green, tealish green color? Oh, 6 months or more? Okay. So 6 months, that would be 180 days. Or more. So if we look down here at the key, this 6 months or more reflects 6 months or more of paid leave includes cases where benefits are provided until recovery or for as long as treatment is required. So for certain injuries, for certain illnesses, you get paid sick leave as long as you need treatment. That's not all of them, but that is some of them. So we got Mexico, we got Spain, we got Ukraine, we got Poland, Germany, Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, Finland, not Switzerland, Russia, China, like come on, like all these countries, South Africa, Brazil, like, are we really gonna just accept this? How do we not have a more broad working class movement? And again, it loops back to what I was talking about in the beginning. A guy like me with 10 people watching, yeah, maybe I'm not gonna immediately change all the narrative and we're all gonna run with it. But having people know these facts and saying that we are one of very few countries in the entire world, over 200 and whatever it is, 50 countries, we're one of like 3 that doesn't guarantee healthcare. I mean, we don't guarantee healthcare either, but that's not what we're talking about. Guarantees sick leave. On top of the fact that we don't have, healthcare, it's about control. It's about control. And yes, Jordan points out, European countries also have paternal leave, which frankly, we barely have maternal leave in America. This is a type of thing that you should get on top of the soapbox and let everybody know. This is something that is absolutely despicable, that we have the undercutting of the middle working class people, the working poor in general, that do not have the basic functions of society to provide the basic human needs: food, housing, clothing, healthcare, water. This is the type of thing that we should not accept as a country. We want to be great. We want to be great again, as Trump says. Step up, and we have to organize locally through, if you can, a union. You have to step up locally through political action by running yourself, getting involved with the party, getting involved and using the party as a vehicle, finding candidates that you like if you don't want to do that, supporting them, working for them, working with them, volunteering for them, donating, door knocking, everything that you possibly can, and only supporting people that care about these issues. The bread and butter. This is bread and butter. This is literally taking away people's right to go home if they're sick, which we should want people to have sick leave, because if they're sick and they're working, let's just take a train driver, an engineer. If a train engineer is sick, do you think they're more or less likely to fall asleep while they're driving the train? Which, you don't drive a train, but whatever. They're more likely because they are sick, which would then potentially lead to crashes, accidents. This is the same thing you see a couple of years ago. You saw in Philadelphia, the SEPTA flying off the rails. It's because these workers are overworked and they get majority of their pay only from overtime. They have health issues sleep apnea. And then they fall asleep at the wheel, and the train's going too fast around a curve, it flips, and people die. It's because these companies are too driven by greed and the profit motive to give a damn about their workers.